Hi, my name is William. I went to the Bartlett School of Architecture for my Part 1, and I am the recipient of this year's 2025 RIBA Bronze Medal. From the title, Contemplating the Demolition, my project is about my reaction to the potential demolition of a dry stone dam in Finland, Helsinki. We were really fortunate in that we were able to go to Helsinki for our unit field trip. I was immediately struck by sort of the intense juxtaposition, or rather like coexistence between the industrial heritage within the Old Town area in Helsinki and how that is right next to the Lammassaari nature reserves. My project ultimately positions this crossroads where I demolish the dam so that I can invite ecology back onto the site, but then integrate the dry stone pieces into my architecture and allow animals to use it in sort of interesting ways to be inhabitants of that space. This tension between industrial and ecological has always been an interest of mine. How do I then respect the industrial framework that's already existing there, but then invite this new ecological framework? And this idea of urban ecology is something that architects now have to grapple with as sort of the line between the urban world and the natural world starts to blur. At first glance, the idea that we should have building regulations for animal-based architecture is quite absurd, but at the end of the day, I think they are very real things that we have to deal with. The regulations that are in place for these species have always existed, and for my own purposes for this project, I've also consulted different animal husbandry documents, for example, for otters, in order to create my version of building regulation that is inventive, but also respectful of the experts in the field. Because my project was so out there, I felt like it deserved a medium that was also a bit more obscure. And so I thought that a David Attenborough style mockumentary would be something that was quite interesting to do. And it's also because it's hard for an architect to design without seeing it from their own perspective. When I'm trying to design for an animal-based architecture, the idea would be to remove myself from the equation and design it how the animal would see fit. It's very difficult to do because as a person, I have my own biases. And so part of the POV style of my film was to give a glimpse as to how a different species would inhabit this space and have another person experience that. Architects just need to be a bit more open to other fields. I feel like the notion of the architect embodies this sort of lone figure that has this masterful mind that then designs this crazy structure. And I really want to dispel that myth of the architect being this lone creator, because an architect has to pull from so many different sources, so many different experts in order to create a building. And if the architect of the future is able to be more conscientious of their own biases and how different other professionals can bring their own expertise into the field, I feel like architecture is going to progress that way of how an architect can be an enabler of these different professions.